How's it going, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Scarlet. We got some rumors. Let's take a look at them right away. So, the first thing we're going to take a look at, guys, is this right here. This is from Soul Silver Art. If you do not know who Soul Silver Art is, he's one of our podcast members, but also a leak analyst. And he's analyzing something from Eclipse, a known Riddler slash sometimes leaker. He's kind of a 50-50 guy, so don't always trust what he says. But he did tweet out something interesting, which was one for all, all for one. Now, if you guys have ever seen the show My Hero Academia, you know that this is kind of also the name of, one of the, I guess, powers within there that the main character kind of has, so spoiler alert. But either way, so what are we talking about? Well, he tweeted that, and here's what Soul Silver has to say. Now, this is all related to Scarlet and Violet, and it's about how the gimmick works like one for all for one in My Hero Academia, which of course I've never watched, and researching this power quirk is complicated. Basically, it reaffirms what Eclipse has already said about the gimmick. So he continues, what I'm getting is both those quirks, abilities and powers have to do with the stockpiling of other quirks and powers for the user to use in battle. So this ties back to Eclipse talking about triple battles and penalties for using the gimmick. The other Pokemon on our team will be their type to the Pokemon we choose to gain a third type. At least that's my interpretation for now. I could be getting it wrong, but I also take this all with a grain of salt. Here's my full explanation. So, one for all quirk explained in My Hero Academia. If you don't understand how it works, I'm going to quickly give you just a general idea of what it works like, right? Basically, one for all, like, it just kind of takes in power all the time. It, like, as you mentioned, stockpiles power. And by doing so, if the user's body isn't able to handle it, like, for example, the main character here, it will break. It will literally break. And that's what happens with the main character. His body, like, body parts and stuff will break. Even the main character, like, where, well, spoiler alert, where the actual abilities come from, like, even his body cannot always, eventually has to, kind of give up the power, right? But, the point is that the idea that fits into Scarlet and Violet here, okay, what part of this fits into Scarlet and Violet, and how he's, trying to give us some hints here, is by saying that in Scarlet and Violet, the new gimmick will have to do something with the idea of stockpiling power, and then, kind of, because of it, the innate the backfiring of actually using that ability, you will take damage in some form or shape, right? Something will, there'll be a penalty to it, similar to how this character struggles with it in the anime. Now, I've seen other theories about this being a new Sword of Justice Pokemon, and what's possibly their motto goes, all for one for all. It's not the same, so unless there is an intentional word swapping, then I don't think, I'm guessing, then I don't think it's likely. Also love this theory about it, but doubt all for one, so that means we are for one, June 1st, presents on June 1st. Now, I don't think that's going to be the case, but you never know, right? So, let's move on to the next rumor or deep dive, which in this case is from Soul Silver Art again. So, here's what he says this time. He says, time to dive deep into the Scarlet and Violet legendaries again. Still believe they could be a serpentine, which he's implying here that one of the legendaries could be some kind of snake-looking thing, and based off of the thread, one of the ones in my thread below. Now, as I've spoken about this before, there's a pattern in many Pokemon games where the previous generation has Pokemon that are the same looking as the next generation legendaries. Now, if you guys do not know this, if you weren't aware of this, this is actually a more or less a fact that we've known about for a long time. And if we open up this other thread he has here, I think he specifically has an image that shows this off. I could be wrong though, but I think he should have an image that shows it off, because it is actually very common, that they will have a Pokemon. So, for example, with, Noivern, that was for Lunala. With, I think, Pyroar, that was for Solgaleo. Basically, they have Pokemon in previous gens that hint at the legendaries of the next gens. And it's not very obvious until you actually get there. Until the actual, reveal, release, whatever you want to call it, it's not very, obvious. And then we have somebody here, Lindsay Sensei, who says, Ophiusa and Orphiusa is the names given by ancient Greeks to Portuguese territory. It means land of serpents. The Ophis would live in the mountains and of northern Portugal, including Galicia. Others say that they lived at the mouth of the Douro and Cavado rivers with their mouths. At Ophir, the classical sources, mainly the Ora Martima, locate the office of Cephas near the Sempsos. There's a lot of weird words that I do not understand, especially along the south coast of Tagus or near the mouths of Tagus and Sado River. These people worshipped serpents, hence the land of serpents, or Serpes, or dragon winged and dragon head. So basically what he's implying here is that there is this history within, Portugal in particular, that does have something or a relationship to serpents. But I will point this out again, and I'll say this for the millionth time. they almost never, not never, never, but almost never, they almost never base the box legendaries off of the actual real life lore from the place the region is based on. So, as I've said before, if you take Kalos, they didn't base the Kalos legendaries on, like, you know, French or I guess Paris, like, I don't know, like, it's based on France, all of France, right? But basically, they didn't base it off of French mythology. They didn't use that. They didn't use French mythology. You know what they use? They use Swedish mythology and Nordic mythology and Norwegian and Danish mythology instead. What did they use? Well, they used Yggdrasil, which is literally the world tree. They used those. They used, like, you know, the thingies that are in that tree, which is a deer, a hawk at the top, I think, and at the bottom there's a serpent, a snake, which, of course, it fits with Xerneas, Yveltal, and Zygarde. That's what they did there, right? So they almost never include actual lore from the real life place for the legendaries in a new generation. You know what I mean? Like, they never do that from the same region that they're, like, actually based on. So just keep that in mind. But either way, if my theory above stands, then I think the Gen 8 precursors to Gen 9 are Dracozolt and Runerigus, or maybe Flapple. This pattern normally doesn't include the typings of the precursor mons, though, so Dracozolt may not apply there, but instead apply for kind of like something looking like a cockatrice. So, like, you know, something that's going to look like a... Well, yeah, cockatrice, I guess, in this case, what he's expecting. And I do think, in a weird way, I do think this Runerigus here actually does hint at the legendary. And not just because it's a serpent or anything, but because this is one of the weirdest Pokemon we got with the least amount of, like, logic behind it. Well, at least, not logic, but least amount of explanation behind it, because it's literally based on a runic, like, scripture, right? Like a runic stones. Now, we have loads of these in Sweden. I've seen a shit ton of them everywhere. They're literally in the weirdest places. You can find them anywhere, literally. I just walked around the forest and there's just one there, like, oh, cool, whatever. They're everywhere, right? But it's so weird that, like, how does it fit into the, you know, the scope of these games? Well, could it be that it was made as some sort of hint towards the legendaries in Scarlet and Violet? Well, let's continue. So, figuring out what the Scarlet Violet Dragon boxes are based on, as well as which secondary type will be for which version, is no easy task. We know the themes of these games, but not which version each theme applies to. An example is Black and White's Legends, which were swapped with the version colors. So, for example, if you guys didn't know this, if you play Pokemon Black, you get Reshiram. But if you play Pokemon White, you get Zekrom, which is the inverse, right? The legendary colors don't actually match up. And I remember, like, that was always so confusing to me, because I ended up, like, when I played it, I was so confused. I was like, wait a minute. But I wanted the one that had the black legendary, but I got the one that has a white legendary in it. This is not what I wanted. But either way. So, let's continue, though. I'm leaning towards, what I'm leaning towards is that the Scarlet mascot will almost certainly be the Dragon Electric. Why? Because Scarlet equals oranges, and you know the huge orange lore they have in Spain? Well, they make energy. Again, this may still be the purple futuristic mascot on Scarlet's box, if they swap them like black and white, so, we'll see. Either way, but I do doubt they're swapped, due to which version Ku said he's choosing. So it looks like Scarlet could be the electric. He also hinted that they may be related to time/old versus new themes. Does that mean the Cockatrice and Dracozolt reps Scarlet, and Runerigus and Flapple represent Violet? Well, we don't really know. Continue on. If this is true, could easily add up to my theory below. Maybe the Violet Legendary is a man-made dragon sent from the future to fight with the already existing Dragon Legendary, hence the fighting type. Maybe it's Dracozolt and Gmax Duraludon that are the actual precursors, which could be the case as well. But either way, we continue on down here. So, I don't know. Maybe I'm totally off and I'm just an old arcane... it's just an old arcane dragon versus a man-made, you know, from the future, I guess, one. Maybe that's the case, right? Maybe the precursors are Drago and and Duraludon. Don't forget the dragons of Hammerlock. One seems to be more steel and the other more stone. Anyways, thanks for reading. Part 2 is coming tomorrow. And he also said, P.S. I love this theory below. It feels accurate to me. Which is one where actually that puts, like, the actual Pokemon on this sort of kind of... Like, let me just show you guys. Like, basically, as he put it in here, you can actually put the Pokemon on the different ends here of the ultraviolet and infrared spectrum of visible light within the rainbow thingy. So, if we, like, look at the actual post here, they say this. I did some mental gymnastics, but in the end, what I concluded was that the two legends are from each color opposite side of the spectrum, but the name nonetheless. So, He says, third legend is more of an interference that it causes the spectrum to act different, mixing up the spectrum or blurring it together, i.e. typing issues. Okay. Also, I think the Ultra Beasts are coming back. What I see is in this picture is a wormhole and Necrozma, their little thing, I don't know. Its Ultra version has an interesting entry, which kind of proves the prior post as well, which says, Ultra Necrozma. This is its form when it has absorbed overwhelming light energy. It fires laser beams from all over its body. The light pouring out from all over its body affects living things and nature, impacting them in various ways. Interesting. So if this is the cause of Necrozma, causing a change in certain Pokemon to gain certain typings, to change certain typings, to do certain things different ways, then that would be an interesting case, wouldn't it? So as for the trend of the third legendary being hitting the next gen gimmick in recent games, I looked at Eternatus. Just like Necrozma, he absorbed energy affecting its surroundings, but also has a geometric prism build just like the Gen 9 gimmick logo. Fair point. We continue on to this, which is another post that we saw earlier, which says, which is where he was speculating in April about it being some sort of, dragon. In this case, he's been speculating on 2 box legend dragon origins. My main idea for this one is one of them could be based on a cockatrice, as we already know, and the other one could also, and just could be based on another creature. Now, there are a lot of creatures within Spanish mythology. Just keep that in mind. So it's kind of hard to use that because I'm going to be honest with you, and I've said this before, I don't think it's smart to use the mythology of Spain, which is what the region is based on, and Portugal, which is, again, also another part what the region is based on. I don't think it's smart to use those. I just don't think it's smart. And the reason I say that, again, is because they don't do that. They don't take the real life lore of the place the region is based on. So I think they should avoid that. Or you should avoid, not avoid doing that, the Game Freak, but we should avoid using that as a speculative tool because it almost never happens. If it does happen, then I'm wrong, but so far, they've never done it, so it is what it is. But we continue over to the next thing, which is a post by Blaze Incineroar with something from 4chan, and here's what it says. Pokemon Presents June 1st. Well, I mean, if that's true, that would be next week, Wednesday, but we'll have to wait and see. It says Unite, as in Incineroar, June 5th, teases Tapu event. Okay, that's weird. Go, Pokemon Go. Nihilego raid starting, Solgaleo and Lunala, but no Cosmog and Cosmoem being added soon. Hisuian and Sneasel added too. Fair enough, sounds realistic. Masters EX, new and... is like the signature, I guess, suit with White Kyurem and Solgaleo and Lunala event rerun. Then, Scarlet Violet. Trailer starts off with a shot of a lake, and the professor sitting by it with your main rival and multiple new fish Pokemon swimming around them in the lake. No localized name at the moment. They show more scenic shots, then show Flordgeist, a fairy ghost evolution to Floette, and then says a beetle that shoots acid that doesn't have a localized name yet is probably based on a bombardier beetle and starts off from from Grubbin again, okay. Then Fuecoco battling an Eevee, Sprigatito battling Meowth, and Quaxley battling Pikachu. Then they show off a glimpse of the new gimmick activating on the cover legendaries. They won't talk about any of the new Pokemon in the trailer itself except Flordgeist or the legendaries. Let's see, but they will show off other new Pokemon in the box art, announcing the pre-orders are up for the game. Then they end the presents with a teaser for a new official Pokemon battle simulator for mobile devices, PC, and Switch. Unsure if this will be a new competitive game or if this will just help you make rental Pokemon or test teams, which that actually, I'm gonna be honest, this is one of the most fun rumors I've seen. The idea of there being like them actually making a battle simulator for Pokemon that kind of fits into the mold of being like the new Pokemon Stadium or something like that actually would be sick. The only way you can do it right now is Pokemon Showdown, which is totally fun. Pokemon Showdown is very well made, very good upkeep, and does its job properly. But imagine if there was an official one where we could have proper, high quality battles with cool looking models and everything and animations and all that. Imagine that. That would be sick. And if it it worked on everything, PC, Switch, freaking mobile devices, everything, crossover, holy moly, that would be actually incredible. But again, that's just, highly speculative. Let's just say it like that. So I'm going to be honest. This rumor, I would love to believe it's real, but I'm not going to say that in this case. I'm giving this one a 5 out of 10 in the realism scale because it didn't over-exaggerate what it's saying. It just gave us a realistic view of what could happen. But I'm going to give this one, like I said, a 5 out of 10 in realism. But yeah, I don't think this one's going to end up being real. If it is real, though, then fantastic. We can go back to this one and look at it again. But that's about it for that. And then we go to this one, which is from 4chan as well. This was a post where 4chan says a Chinese dragon and a dragon train might be one of the best ideas I've seen for them. So basically, they show off here like the idea of a bullet train, specifically, I think in this case, a Japanese bullet train, because they're very popular specifically there. I don't think most countries even have them, but this is a Japanese bullet train, as far as I know, and this one has the grapes here under it for, I'm guessing, violet. Meanwhile, on the other side, you have a Chinese dragon with oranges on it, and that one in particular has, you know, a relationship to Pokemon Scarlet. And above it is the clock. Now, that clock has some weird mumbo-jumbo happening with it, and that's a traditional Spanish, I think, mosaic clock. I don't know exactly what the name is of them, but I just know that they are a very traditional clock within Spain. And what's interesting, on top of that, is that on the other side, you have the police officer who is kind of more like in a future setting, right? He's like in more in the present time, and even the train is more of a present thing, whereas the Chinese looking dragon over there, it's more of a, you know, old traditional concept, and the clock is literally, you know, moving time backwards in this case. And yeah, he also includes like some letters there, as well as the equal and the plus sign, which is very strange. So it is impossible. They try to imply here that one is going to be based on somewhat of a Chinese dragon design, meanwhile the other is going to be based on a more futuristic, almost also Chinese dragon design, but this one is going to be more or less in the shape of like a bullet train almost, or like more like maybe like armory, right? So it looks more like it's actually like made out of metal or something. So we'll see if that's going to be the case though, guys. And that's going to be it for today's video, guys. If you did enjoy, drop a like down below. Make sure to subscribe. And of course, as per usual, I will see you on the next one. Peace out and bye-bye, ladies and gentlemen.